So we're at Wild Wings here today, and Rachel and I are going to be reviewing the movie Loopers. No, that's not right.
Yeah?
It's Looper, not Loopers. I keep doing that.
I keep calling them loopers. Like I keep calling the loop. Like when they let their loop run, I keep calling them like, oh, they let their loopers run. But like that just sounds like they're crazy.
I think the movie's a little loopy. I was kind of excited about it because it was like a sci-fi movie, and it was a chance to watch something about time travel, and the reviews looked really good, so I put it on my list, and we got to go ahead and watch it.
So I watched half of it before my class yesterday, and then went home and watched the whole thing again with my roommates, and I had never heard of the movie, but then as soon as I said to both of them, I was like, do you guys want to watch Loopers? And they both went, oh my gosh, yes, I've heard of that movie, it's so good, and all this stuff, and I was like, okay, well.
It's more fun to watch with friends. I watched it with your mom,
mm-hmm.
and she didn't get it. So if you're watching it, don't watch it with young kids. And not just the violence.
There's a young child in it, but it doesn't mean that there should be young children watching it.
Not just because of the violence, but I really don't know what was with the bare chests. I mean, what was the point?
Well, they were in like a strip club.
So,
you know, there is that, and
they just want to up the rating on it, or what? You know,
there is foul language, a lot of blood and gore.
I mean, it's not a nice world they're inhabiting, right?
No, but like,
you know, realizing it's a $30 million budget that made $175 million, like this is pretty good, right? You think this, and there was some good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched it.
Did you not like it?
No. I didn't like it.
So why did you not like it?
Well, you know what? We're hearing a lot of stuff about Star Wars these days.
Okay.
Right? And how Star Wars missed the mark. I'm talking particularly about The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. Okay. Guess who produced it?
Well, it was
Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
The same Rian Johnson who produced Loopers. And you know what? I can see a lot of similarities in the complaints. Because he was trying to attack character. I think he was trying to do good things with characters, but he really missed the mark with the story.
Okay, because I enjoyed the film. There were my nitpicky things were a little bit more about Joseph Gordon-Levitt's fake prosthetics and
which I thought weren't that bad, actually.
And the predictability of the movie. I enjoyed the concept, but at the same time, you know, with any time travel movie, you're gonna have a lot of time paradoxes. I was a little bit confused when he shot his loop the first time, or he let his loop run, but then it goes back to him and he shoots his loop and he continues on with his life, but then he comes back, and I was like, okay,
that's like a time travel movie paradox kind of.
Yeah, because then that's not true though.
But he totally avoided that. He didn't worry about that.
But he still like included that part in it. Like I didn't understand why he included that scene of him shooting himself and then going on with his life. Is he goes through these 30 years because he shot himself, but then he comes back and he doesn't shoot himself. So I'm just like.
It's funny too that we're getting so caught up in all the time travel stuff and the paradoxes that are there, and that's a time travel movie. But you know, and we say it was supposed to be about the characters, but really we're not even talking about the character development. You know, like what was the moral? How did the characters develop? What was it that they were really thinking and went through? You know, we're not even talking about that because we're so stuck on these paradoxes.
No, and I found it interesting that like the Joe, like the younger Joe, had no interest in spending his life, like living out his life. His main concern was just shooting his loop and closing his loop, and that was all he wanted. He just wanted his life back and all this stuff.
Some people live that way, right? They just live for the moment.
You get a golden payday, you get a handshake, and you get released from your contract. Enjoy the next 30 years. This job doesn't tend to attract the most forward-thinking people.
I was like, I feel like they should have realized that no matter what they're doing here, it's not going to change the future unless they don't go after the kid. Because, like...
We're back on the time paradoxes again.
Well,
so you get stuck on that, you get so confused you don't enjoy the movie.
They're so confused then. And that's my issue with, like, time travel movies, is just all the paradoxes that people don't necessarily think about while they're filming, or
Oh, I think they thought about it. I think he chose to ignore
and
it.
chose which ones you need to like worry about and which ones you don't need to
Ryan,
worry
if you're
about.
listening to this, you can let me know. Were you just deliberately trying to ignore all that stuff, or a movie that's a sci-fi movie? You build a universe, you build rules, and you have to live by those rules, or the whole story falls apart.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ryan was really going, and he wrote this thing too, right? So I could really say it was his because he wrote it and directed it. So I feel like he was going so much after character and developing these people that he just forgot totally about all the rules that he was setting in the universe that he had created, where this time travel was available, right?
But then you can kind of just explain anything with like a time travel movie. You can basically just say, oh, that inconsistency was because that was a different timeline.
Yeah, of course.
You can get away with so much more because you're like, well, that just was in one possible timeline.
And then you got to do some things for drama, right? To make it dramatic. Like at the very end, right, when Joseph he blows himself away, right, and Bruce Willis is standing there for like 10 seconds before he disappears.
He should have disappeared right away.
And in essence, when he blows himself away, the whole there's no story. It never happened. So.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually think about that, because when he does blow himself up, he never gets to that point, meaning he never came back. Mm-hmm. The whole thing should have reset. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. He like disappeared.
The whole movie. I mean, if you really wanted to get into the characters, that's applaudable, right? Mm-hmm. But he didn't really get into the characters. It felt like a really bad Western. like a futuristic Western kind of thing, right? What about the production value? I mean, $30 million budget, which is pretty low these days for a movie, right? I think that's part of what made it kind of feel like one of those old bad Westerns. So you think about that speeder bike, right? Like it just didn't seem to float right. It just wasn't all that great. I don't know that they used a lot of CG in the movie. And that time machine, okay, it looked like a crematorium. Okay, talk about low budget. Oh my goodness. I mean, they only came on one scene. They never really actually used the time machine for anything. So
yeah, it was just the one thing. They didn't
why
want
spend
to
a lot of
spend
money
a lot.
on it? But
I mean, they could have just stuck him in a green room and created
something.
But I thought that having the lack of CGI and having only like a few kind of, I really appreciated it, because it wasn't like this future almost utopia where everybody has access to all of the technology. It is very much like a modern future kind of thing, where obviously not everybody's going to be able to afford all the technology that's available. Not everybody is going to have access, but then there are some technological advances that everybody is able to afford. But the mom on the farm, like, she had that drone thing that would go out overhead. So there was obviously technology that everybody could afford.
Well,
but
she's a farmer. That was a crop duster.
But like
part of running a farm.
Like some of the motorcycles and like the in the library, like those computers and things, like there is some technology that everybody can afford, but then there's also like the higher up technology that like you have to be kind of rich and have a lot of money in order to afford, which is kind of like now, like I can't afford an iPhone that's like 10.
How about one of those tiny little glass phones they use?
Those I don't understand. Why in all future movies are phones just like a piece of glass?
Because that's where it's headed.
That's gonna break.
Future prediction.
That's gonna break so easily. Like this is.
It scratches it.
Yeah.
You have to like wrap it in one of those armor things.
Yeah.
So and then telekinesis thing, like it was pretty obviously a wire there. I mean, they couldn't have done better. I don't know.
Also, but like you said, very low budget. Like low budget for like traditional budgets now.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I don't mind not having a lot of CG, right? I think if you could do practical effects, that's awesome, right? But I just, I don't know that they were executed really, really well.
Well, I mean,
funny enough, I think the only thing that really was done really well practical was the makeup, the prosthetics. And you didn't like that, so.
He just looked so fake. And he didn't look like Bruce Willis. If you look at Bruce Willis has like lost his eyebrows. But then they colored in Joseph Gordon-Levitt with like black. And then
You know, that happens to us as we get older, though.
But I know, but like his eyebrows are fine the way that they are. Why did they need to like dye them black or whatever, right? I think it was the mouth that bothered me the most because it looked very fake.
Hardest place maybe to do a prosthetic.
Granted, I can't do like facial effects.
Give us $30 million. We'll see what we can do, okay?
I would not be able to come anywhere near that. It would look even worse. So, like, who am I to say what's good and what's not good? But what do I know, right?
Yeah, what do we know?
So I did a little bit of research on Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his role in it, because I originally thought that it was like just CG. They just like CG'd his face and they just did a really poor job because like he looked so fake. But he submerged himself into that role and sent monologues that he had to do in this film to Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis would record it and send it back to him, and he really made an effort to pick up on Bruce Willis's mannerisms and the way that he spoke and different things because he wanted to get the character right. And it's interesting with your, like, he didn't really, like, Ryan didn't really develop the characters as much. It's interesting because, like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt put a lot more effort in than, it seems, than even Ryan did into the character.
But you gotta give props to both Bruce Willis and to Joseph Gordon-Levitt because they did great jobs in their roles, I think, and they did a good job. I mean, even Bruce Willis himself said that he could see himself in Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I know, I was trying to say his name yesterday, and I was like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, even the kid. That kid was awesome.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm so impressed with just child actors in general, especially child actors who do horror films and like thriller films like this, where it takes a lot of effort and a lot of intensity and like having to scream and do like the telekinesis things and some of the faces that he made, like the facial expressions.
I know, yeah.
I was scared of him. And I was like,
But at the end there, when he stood up,
and he was just like, yeah, that was very impressive. I don't know who that actor was, but props to him.
Yeah, very good. So I guess sum it up. So acting, pretty good. Story, yeah, it was an interesting concept. You know what? I think if you liked The Last Jedi, you probably liked the movie.
See, and I liked The Last Jedi.
And if you didn't like The Last Jedi,
but
because of the holes that were in it, then you probably felt the same way about this movie too.
But I think the same thing is like I'm not like as into the Star Wars universe as other people are, where they're like connecting all the dots and like
It comes down to
all
the
these
same
things.
thing, right? Yeah. But it has
Where
to
like
match.
I enjoyed the films, but I'm not like a super diehard fan. With this too,
Speaking of
I
diehard,
enjoyed the film.
So on a rating basis of 1 to 10 chicken wings, I think I would probably give it about 4 chicken wings.
4 chicken wings.
4 chicken wings, yeah.
I think I might be inclined to give it a 6 chicken wings, but I think it's because of our difference that we talked about with like the same thing with the Star Wars universe and like this thing. Because I enjoyed the story and I enjoyed the concept. So I'll give it a 6.